toads predicting earthquakes and birds predicting tsunamis? Really?
I know, but hear me out.
The idea of animals having a sixth sense has been around for centuries. Well, now there's some fascinating research showing that not only may this be true, but scientists are now genuinely exploring whether animals could be used as early warning signals for natural disasters. To find out if animals really are the future of forecasting, I've travelled to meet one of the leading animal behaviour experts, Dr. Rachel Grant, who accidentally discovered an animal with an earthquake predicting superpower.
I was doing my PhD on the reproductive behaviour of amphibians, i.e. toads and frogs, and I was doing my research work, my field work at a small lake in central Italy called San Rufino Lake. And one year I was doing my survey as usual, and the toad numbers were starting to increase towards the full moon, just like every other year.
Yes. Rather than just mating when they feel like it, toads use the lunar cycle to set a date for mating, to ensure enough male and females come together. And when better than a full moon? It's quite romantic when you think about it.
And suddenly, about 5 or 6 days before the full moon, there were no toads. There just were none at all. 5 days after the first toad disappearance, a large earthquake occurred about 50 miles away in the town of L'Aquila.
You can see fragments of the homes that existed.
Every fissure, every crack, a glimpse into how the familiar and cosy suddenly became sinister and dangerous.
This is a city and a country in mourning.
In the aftermath of the earthquake, it dawned on Rachel that there might be a link between the toad disappearances and the earthquake.
The really interesting thing, and that's the thing that convinced me, was after the earthquake, the toads all started coming back.
In order to convince geologists that this was legit, Rachel needed something more concrete than just a one-off correlation.
Rachel scoured the globe for data sets of animal movements and came across a series of camera traps being used at the Yanachanga National Park in Peru. And bingo. Luckily for Rachel, there had been an earthquake during the same period as the study.
What I found was, as the earthquake approached, animal numbers started dropping. But the thing that sort of made my blood run cold almost was when I looked at the day before the earthquake, the 24 hours before the earthquake, there was not a single animal recorded. Once the earthquake had occurred, the animal numbers started going up again. So it was a very similar effect to that I saw with the toads.
So I guess the next question is, how on earth are they doing it?
What I found was really interesting. Usually there are radio waves transmitted from transmitters to receivers all over the world. I took a control path, which was just a radio path transmitted across Italy, and then I took a path which had passed quite near the epicenter of the earthquake, and there were fluctuations in these waves around the same time that the toads had disappeared. And I didn't really know why, I had no explanation for this at the time, but I just noted that these two things happened at the same time, in the same place.
So the fluctuating radio waves clearly showed that something was going on. But what? What links those two things?
After some conversations with NASA scientists, Rachel discovered a clue.
When rocks are under a lot of stress and about to break, just like happens before earthquakes, charges pass along the rocks when they're under pressure, and when they reach the rock-water interface or the rock-air interface, they cause ionization, which is basically charged particles.
It turns out that these charged particles have been shown to affect radio waves, and it's thought that these charged particles are what the animals are picking up on.
When I realised that this was the link, I was very excited, and for the Peru paper, I needed to find out if there were similar radio wave fluctuations corresponding to the animal disappearances. And we saw it again, radio wave fluctuations outside the normal range at the time when the animals had disappeared.
Suddenly you find the missing link.
I found the link between the radio wave fluctuations and the animal disappearance.
Rachel had finally shown a clear and undeniable link between earthquakes and changes in animal behaviour, which could provide a foundation for a whole new field of science that could help mitigate and forecast earthquakes.
But Rachel's not alone in her research, and over the last decade, interest in using animals as early warning signals for natural disasters like cyclones and tsunamis has garnered more and more attention.
This is Frederick.
I can take a very French accent if you want.
Frederick was contacted by the French military, who were looking for better ways to forecast cyclones and tsunamis after hearing reports of strange animal behaviour from the media, and thought birds might be the answer.
And then he contacted me and many others saying, I don't know if it's a crazy idea, if it's dumb, or if it's revolutionary, but you are a specialist of birds. Do you think it's interesting? Because we in the army, if it is, we are interested to fund it and to help.
Needless to say, with the promise of funding and military boats, Frederick said yes.
So now they're in the middle of a long-term study tracking migrational birds in French Polynesia, a place that's especially prone to cyclones and tsunamis. They think the migrational birds are able to detect the low-frequency sounds, infrasound, that cyclones and tsunamis produce. So they are monitoring the birds with military-grade GPS trackers to see how their behaviour changes when tsunamis and cyclones form. But fitting them was easier said than done.
And the first expedition, it was like mist nets, like hunters trying to understand how to approach a bird to 20 meters. And the last expedition, it was like just harvesting them by hands. You go at night, you find the bird with a thermal binoculars. Now it's not that difficult if you go at the right time, at the right places.
Frederick is still in the middle of gathering data, but he hopes that if he can match the bird behaviour to impending cyclones and tsunamis, he can provide an additional natural early warning system.
So the idea is to propose a local warning systems which will be complementary and say, okay, there is an alert, be careful, a tsunami could be coming, and then yes, it is coming because the birds are escaping. And then be able to say, normally the birds escape 10 minutes before the wave, or 15 minutes or 5 minutes, and this will also be an information saying when this behavior is detected, you have 5 minutes to go to the rescue building to prepare in advance, even saving 10 minutes or half an hour. It can save lives and many things.
In the next few years, Frederick will be able to say for sure whether birds are able to forecast tsunamis. And if his hunch is correct, then this could be a game changer. Since Rachel showed that animals can be used to predict earthquakes, people can no longer dismiss the idea that animals may be better at forecasting than us.
And this is only the start. Who knows what other bizarre and incredible things animals are able to do?